Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4 of Sharing My Life. Today, I'm sharing a couple of things. One is a poem, a beautiful poem by the 12th century mystic poet Jalaluddin Rumi. And then I'm going to share a little story from my life, starring my 3 beautiful children, which actually relate to the poem very beautifully. So, the poem is called The Guest House, and it's simply about treating our bodies as though they're guest houses. And Rumi talks about how he relates our emotions to guests. So if you had a guest at your front door, you'd invite them in, you'd honor and acknowledge them, you'll celebrate them, you'll just be with them. And then when the evening is finished, you let them go, and your house or your guest room is empty once again for some new experience, for some new guest to come into. So here's the poem. I actually know the poem pretty much by heart because I've done it in a couple of Toastmaster speeches. So here it is. If I forget, I'll be looking here. This being human is a guest house. Every morning, a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if they're a crowd of sorrows that violently sweep your house empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing. Invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. Jalaluddin Rumi. And I listened to this poem in about 2010-11. It was soon after I actually heard the poem in 2011-12, soon after my marriage breakdown, and there were a lot of emotions coming up for me at the time. And it was just perfect timing. And around the same time, my cousin Sandra said to me, treat everything, it's a process. There'll be up days, there'll be down days, just be with it all. And yeah, so that poem was very perfectly timed for me. And now I'm going to, and until you actually say goodbye to them, you don't have a clear space for the next experience to come into your life. I'll tell you a short story with my 3 children now. It was about 2014, I think, and I was moving from my lower level of my home to the upper level of my home because my 2 older children had moved out of my home, and I only had my 12-year-old Damien at the time. So I had moved all my furniture up, and the only thing left was my clothes downstairs in my wardrobe. And I decided that one Saturday evening when my son went out for dinner with his dad that I was going to actually start moving my clothes up. And as I was pulling out the stuff from my cupboard to take them upstairs, I came across this file which had a whole bunch of love letters of when we were dating and all the cards over the many years and lots of romantic stuff in there. And I started, sentimental stuff, and I started to cry and break down. I was an absolute mess, actually. Snot coming out of my nose, falling over all the letters. And I finally couldn't deal with it anymore. And I picked up the phone and spoke to my daughter, Alicia. She was up in Moranbah, North Queensland at the time. And as soon as she heard my voice, she says, "Mom, are you okay?" And I said, "No, this is what's happened." And she says, "Mom, I understand. It's okay. You were with Dad for 22 years. It's okay to feel sad. I'm here with you. Cry with me." And she stayed with me on the phone for about 15 minutes. And then she says, "Mom, I have to go. I'll call you in about half an hour to see how you're going, okay?" And before she could hang up, I said, "Mom, was I a good mom?" Because I was questioning all of that when I was, looking through all those sentimental stuff. Was I a good mom? Had I made the right decision? I said, "Was I a good mom, Nuni?" And she says, "Mom, you are the best." Anyway, I hang up from her, and I wasn't satisfied then. So I decided I was going to call my son, Daniel. Now, Daniel was about 19, and as soon as he heard my voice on the phone, he says, "Sup, Mom." Sup, by the way, is short form for what's up. And when I told him what had happened, he says, "Mom, shit happens. Move on with your life." And that was like almost a 2-minute conversation. And before he was just about to hang up, and I said, "Daniel, was I a good mom?" And he says, "Mom, you were the best." Anyway, and that was it. 2 minutes later, and he was gone. I decided to abandon my, moving of my clothes. So I went upstairs to my bedroom, And I was sitting on my bed, and 10 minutes later, my youngest son, Damien, arrives home. He was 12. And he sees me in red eyes and dripping nose, and he puts his arm around me, sits alongside me on the bed. And he says, Mom, are you okay? And I told him what had happened. And he says, Mom, be in the moment. And I'm looking at him and saying, Damien, where did you get that from? And he says, Mom, I hear you talking about it a lot with your friends. Anyway, what I got, the moral of that whole story was that I had my own panel of counselors. The first one that tells me to just stay with my emotions. The second one that said, move on. And the third one that says, come back to the present moment. And I really also got that I was a good mom after all. And so, yeah, I hope that's another small part of my life. And next week, I'll be here again. Have a good week, and thank you for listening. Bye.